On October 8th, Star Citizen launched its Halloween event, known in verse as the Day of Vara. Problem is, time is ticking, and you've only got a few days left to earn one of the 2 in-game earnable items. Of course, in this case we're talking about the harder to earn Snarling Vanduul helmet. And in this video, our aim is to teach you the most efficient ways to earn it. As I just mentioned, there's actually 2 helmets you can earn in the game. The first one is the highh horror helmet, which you can earn by going to the Easter egg location of Benny's Henge, which personally I think is the best one. We're not going to focus on how to get this helmet in this particular video, but if you are interested, a quick search will point you in the right direction. However, we will be revisiting this location later in this video in order to earn the Vanduul helmet. So the first thing we're going to gloss over today is the rules of engagement and the strategy you're going to employ to get these kills. The rules are quite simple. You have to be piloting an highh Gladius or a Isperia Glaive. It doesn't matter if it's owned by you or anybody else. You just have to get 50 kills that are unique players, so it can't be the same person in your party or the same friend 50 times. It also doesn't matter if your target or victim in most cases is doing at the time, whether they're in the same ship or standing around on a planet somewhere. As long as you can confirm the kill and it's inside the persistent universe, so it's no arena commando unfortunately, then it's yours and it counts towards a tally. Unfortunately, there's no in-game tally or even on the website to keep track of this, so just grab a piece of paper and create a tally system like I did. And now we're going to go over the strategy you should employ when going after these kills. Just to take note that the Isperia Glaive is absolute trash thanks to an open canopy bug that exists within the game. Thanks to the ship's design and its canopy being fixed, it actually means that your seat just moves during flight, meaning you can't see through your windscreen and can't fly the ship effectively. So ultimately the Isperia Glaive size 5 gun and the maneuverability of the ship is useless and don't even bother trying it. As a result, you've probably been seeing a lot of this around the verse recently. What this is a new pilot in a highh Gladius versus another new pilot in an highh Gladius in a battle to desperately get their 50 kills. And this is where strategy comes into play. Because while the highh Gladius is a fine killing machine in most regards, when it comes up against another highh Gladius, there are certain things you can do to gain an advantage, which is why next and first and foremost we're going to be talking about loadouts and how to gain an advantage against somebody using the same ship. For our focus, we're going to be changing what the stock highh Gladius comes equipped with in terms of shields and guns. These are the 2 areas that most newbies would struggle in the most. Just so you know, the highh Gladius comes with 3 fixed size 3 guns, which are 2 laser repeaters and on the nose a ballistic Gatling gun. It also comes equipped with not 1 but 2 size 1 shield generators, all of which we're going to be swapping out. Now this is where somebody might struggle for additional time, because I've calculated the cost of changing all of these in order to gain an advantage against another Gladius comes to around about 60,000 AUEC, which is a steep bar just for changing a few guns and shield generators on the ship itself. But nevertheless, they're quite vital for killing people fast and unexpectedly. In order to accommodate everyone and gain maximum efficiency, I'm going to go for 2 distinct playstyles based on what control inputs you're using. One for more experienced pilots or just people confident in their ability with fixed guns, which will gain you an advantage in just damage output, and the second one for more newbie players playing on just mouse and keyboard, which will go for accuracy with gimbaled weapons. In case you're unfamiliar with how this actually works in any space sim fighting game, you're typically trying to do 2 things in order. The first one is to take down any of your opponent's shields in order to be able to inflict more damage on them in the second step. The second step is concentrating fire on the ship's hull in order to dismantle or completely blow up all of the ship itself. In order to do this efficiently, we're going to focus on what is currently the meta in Star Citizen, and currently the meta is distortion guns. Distortion guns do one thing and one thing well, which is take down the shields of someone else very quickly, as well as occasionally disrupting any other electrical components on the ship itself. So for as long as distortion damage is still being applied, anything such as laser repeaters, coolers, even the engine itself will shut down temporarily. This leaves anybody receiving distortion damage a sitting duck to be finished off by, say, ballistic guns. And as mentioned earlier, currently distortion guns work incredibly well, which is why they're the focus of the 4 loadouts I'm about to show you. Today we're going to start with fixed guns. This is typically for anybody using, say, a flight stick or is just confident in their piloting ability. To make this as efficient as possible, I've made sure you can get these at mostly 2 stores, located in Port Olisar and Gimbal. There's only one in Crew L5 that you'll need to go and get if you choose this loadout. If you'd like a comprehensive list of all the items you can buy in all the stores for ships, I'd heavily recommend going to the Urkel Games DPS calculator, which you'll find a link down below for. All of the loadouts I'm covering's main cost will be increasing your shield health pool by going to Port Olisar and buying 2 FR66 shield generators. They come in at 18,450 a piece, so this is about 37 grand's worth of the entire investment, but trust me, they're worth it. From here, a bit of variation comes into play depending on your playstyle. You can either choose to have 2 distortion repeaters or 2 ballistic cannons on. The distortion repeaters will take down shield faster and leave you 1 cannon to get the finishing kill on. However, 2 ballistic cannons will still deplete shields but may be able to kill an opponent faster, if you are accurate with the distortion repeater, so choose wisely. For the repeaters, I heavily recommend going over to Gimbal and picking up either 1 or 2 Sucker Punch XLs. If you pick up 2, be sure to place them under the wings of your ship, and with that, this particular loadout is done, costing about 57,000 AUC. Leave the default Gatling gun on the nose of the ship, as this works perfectly fine. If you pick up the 1, replace the Gatling gun on the nose of the ship with the Sucker Punch XL. Put the Gatling gun on the other wing and head over to Crew L5 to buy another one of the same Mantis GT 220s. And with that, this particular fixed loadout is done. Onto the gimbal weapons. As mentioned before, this is for the less skilled pilots, such as myself, who struggle to actually hit shots. The obvious trade-off here is for what you gain in accuracy, you lose in damage output thanks to the smaller size of the guns. An additional drawback here is that the convenience costs money, meaning that the 2 respective loadouts I'm about to tell you about cost around 64,800 and 68,000 in total. You can, however, make a saving on this depending on where you buy and what you gimbal. For example, if you leave the nose mount ungimbaled, you'll make a saving there, plus you'll be able to have a size 3 weapon. For the loadout that costs 64,000, head over to Port Olisar and again buy 2 FR66 shield generators. Equip these on the ship. Next up, head to either hr L3 or hr L4 to buy the weapons. Here, purchase 3 size 3 gimbal mounts and a mix of either 1 Scorpion GT 215s and 2 Sucker Punch Ls, or 2 Sucker Punch Ls and 1 Scorpion GT 215. Whichever one you purchase double of, ensure you equip that one to the wings of the ship in order to be fired at the same time using the right mouse click button. Of the 4 variations I've listed, I recommend that newbies go for the gimbaled Scorpions, doubled up, and that anybody that keeps finding themselves coming up against bigger ships than an Aegis Gladius, go for fixed size 3 distortion cannons. Now you know what you'll be killing people with, it's time to move on to where you'll be killing them. So it's finally time to discuss locations in the verse where you'll be able to get these kills. I've compiled a short list of places you're most likely to find people hanging out. We're going to be going through the methods of engaging people in these areas later on in the video, but for now we're just going to focus on, from bottom to top, the places you're least likely to most likely find people in. The first one is Benny's Henge. Of course, this is in the asteroid belt of Highh, and you're going to find people here trying to get the other mask that I mentioned earlier. Coming in at number 4 is the Moons of Crusader. Now the people here are going to be doing their own thing, and we're going to explain why in methods this might be bad choice, but ultimately you'll still find people here. Coming in hot at number 3 is Port Olisar. Now this is a bit of a controversial choice because usually Port Olisar is mayhem anyways, but what's actually happened is most people are actively avoiding this area in order to not engage in battles. Even with that said, it's not exactly completely barren and you'll still find the occasional person just hanging around here. Coming in at number 2, I've grouped 3 places together, and even though they fall under the same problem that Port Olisar has with the armistice zone changes, you're naturally going to find a lot of people here, which are of course Everest Harbour, Port Tressler and Bajini Point. These are located above the 3 major planets that you can actually access in the game, and as a result they're the spawn areas of most of the players in the game, meaning you're always going to find people floating around, coming in and out of the station. And finally, the absolute best place to go in order to gain these kills is of course ►. Located within Crusader's orbit behind the moon Yela inside of its asteroid belt, you'll find this place. And the reason people are fighting here is because it's an outlaw zone, meaning that anybody that takes hostile actions won't be recorded and given a crime stat, which of course vital to avoiding prison, which will be a massive time waste when trying to gain these kills efficiently. Now you're finally equipped with the guns you needed to take down a person and you know whereabouts they're going to be, it's time to talk methods. And of course this is the approach you're going to take when going in for a kill. This is of course the area in which the community is a bit split in terms of how people are going around to get and earn this helmet, and thus increasing or decreasing the perceived value of the helmet itself. See, now if everybody cheeses it, then it's not worth as much because you know that everybody got it through just being cheap. Whereas everybody went out and actively got legit kills, then it's worth something, it's a status symbol of some sort. Which is why I've split this into 3 separate areas. Legit kills, a grey area, and just cheesing it. And I'll explain which one's which and which areas you're most likely to find these in from the locations list. Full disclaimer, I haven't actually pursued every single method I'm going to list here. I've done a nice mix of all of them, but as a result I don't have B-roll for everything I'm going to discuss here, just stuff I've seen around the internet. Keep in mind that this video is meant to show you the most efficient ways to get this helmet, and as a result you're going to have to choose what's going to work best for yourself in this short amount of time. So first up we have legit kills. Legit kills is basically when you attack a player who's ready to defend themselves. Typically they're going to be in another Aegis Gladius thanks to this challenge. So if you see somebody's ready to battle, go for it. Don't hesitate, trust me. I've lost a lot of battles because of that. You'll find the majority of these battles around the top 2 places and locations I mentioned, which are ► and the main spawning space stations. Naturally, people have implemented some form of decorum into the entire thing and actually actively ask if you'd like to battle, which is good for just, well, manners and the verse in general. Next up we have the moral grey area. Now typically this is going to consist of you attacking players who aren't aware of their surroundings or ready for a fight. Meaning you're going to be killing people who are on foot, mining or cargo trading. Typically you'll find these guys in places 3 to 5 in the locations guide. I made this moral grey area because technically these are legit kills, it's just that you weren't going to have a legit fight, which to some is akin to griefing, so it's typically frowned upon. Especially when you consider the time investment that the person probably had doing what they were doing, or if you accidentally repeat kill them. So be careful if you attempt in this way. It can be quite time consuming in terms of finding the person in the first place, but it's also sometimes going to get you hated by people. Which brings us to the final topic and method of today, which is to straight up cheese the reward. Cheesing effectively means to find the biggest loophole in order to get this done the absolute fastest way possible. And I can honestly say it works, unfortunately. In fact, after I gained about 1/5 of my kills in the legit way, it's actually the way I came up and made up the remaining numbers in a short amount of time. And there's multiple ways of doing this, and they fall in the grey area to straight up just cheesing it. The first method I wish to talk about is straight up just paying people. Just pure, unadulterated capitalism. I'm lucky enough to be in a circumstance where I've got a lot of AUEC on hand thanks to my organisation, and I found this to be by far the fastest method to get these kills. All you do is pop up in chat with your offer about how much you'll give for per kill, and people will come flocking to you all across the universe. Seriously, like, depending on how much you're willing to put down, which in my case was about 100k per kill, people don't really believe you at first. It's kind of odd. You'll definitely get a laugh from all the responses. Another way to do this is to simply trade, which means two players agree to meet up and take turns killing each other. It's actually the most popular way to cheese this because it kind of involves convincing another person to do it in the first place, which is usually mutually beneficial. If you struggle to find a response in the global chat, just switch servers and keep server hopping until you get enough kills. The final way to cheese this is to go to an external application, somewhere outside of the game, such as say Discord. Now I haven't done it this way and I haven't even checked them out because I didn't really need to once I found paying people was so successful. But I'm pretty sure if you lurk the right forum posts and the right Reddits, you'll quickly find a Discord group to do this with. Now potentially this could be the absolute fastest way to do it, and given we're coming down to the last few days, you'll probably find some willing people. The problem here is mainly just server stability and setup time. These things can take a lot of time to organise and actually perform, as each player will take turns to kill a group of people, so there'll be respawning involved as well as finding each other again and lining up. In general, you'll find that the better the setup is, the faster you can get this done. So if somebody brings along a ship with a med bay, then you're pretty much good to go. Again, you'll typically find all of this going on at the top two locations I mentioned earlier, Grimhex and the starting space stations. But you'll also find them dotted around the universe so people don't come along and grief the entire group. And with that, that should be everything you need to know in order to get the Snarling Vanduul helmet. If you are struggling to get those final few kills and you just can't figure out why, then I have one final tip. Turn this off. And that's it for this Star Citizen focused video. We're a fairly new channel, so if you enjoyed what you saw today, please be sure to drop a like down below, comment with your thoughts, negative and positive, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more in the future, keep on doppying, and we'll see you in the next one.